If you're dreaming of a garden overflowing with juicy, vibrant tomatoes next summer, you need to stop what you're doing right now. Because planting these 7 common crops in your garden this season could completely sabotage your tomato harvest next year. We're talking late blight outbreaks, pest infestations, and sad, stunted plants that produce nothing but disappointment. I'm going to reveal exactly which crops are secretly destroying your soil's potential for tomatoes, and more importantly, what you should plant instead. Stick around until number 1. It's the absolute worst offender, and chances are it's already in your garden. Before we dive into the list, let's talk about why this matters. Tomatoes are part of the nightshade family, and they're what we call heavy feeders. They absolutely devour nutrients from your soil. But here, the problem: when you plant certain crops before tomatoes, you're essentially rolling out the welcome mat for 3 major disasters. First, soil-borne diseases like fusarium wilt, verticillium wilt, and the dreaded late blight. These pathogens can survive in your soil for years, just waiting for their next tomato victim. Second, pests. Some crops attract insects that develop a taste for nightshades and will happily stick around for your tomatoes. And third, nutrient depletion. Plant the wrong crop and your soil will be stripped bare of exactly what tomatoes need most. The golden rule: rotate your tomato planting area every 3 to 4 years and never, ever follow these 7 crops with tomatoes. Your future harvest depends on it. Coming in at number 7, corn. Now you might be thinking, but corn and tomatoes aren't even related, and you'd be right. But here's what most gardeners don't realize: corn is an absolute magnet for tomato hornworms. These massive green caterpillars can strip a tomato plant bare in just a few days, and if they've been feasting on your corn all season, their population explodes. Plus, corn is one of the hungriest crops you can grow. It sucks nitrogen out of the soil at an alarming rate, leaving almost nothing for your tomatoes, which are already nitrogen hungry themselves. The result: yellowing leaves, poor fruit set, and tiny tomatoes that never reach their full potential. If you're planting corn this year, make sure your tomato bed is on the complete opposite side of your garden. Number 6 is cucumbers. These refreshing summer favorites seem innocent enough, but they share a dangerous secret with tomatoes: bacterial wilt. This devastating disease is spread by cucumber beetles, and once it's in your soil, it can persist and attack your tomatoes the following season. But wait, it gets worse. Cucumbers and tomatoes are both incredibly thirsty plants that compete for the same water resources. They also have similar nutrient demands, particularly for potassium and phosphorus. When you follow cucumbers with tomatoes, you're essentially planting into already exhausted soil. The signs: slow growth, poor fruit development, and increased susceptibility to stress. Instead of cucumbers, consider planting them in a completely different bed, or better yet, wait and plant them alongside your tomatoes the same year, where you can manage both their needs together. Number 5 might surprise you: fennel. This aromatic herb is absolutely gorgeous in the garden, with its feathery foliage and licorice scent. But fennel is what we call allelopathic. It releases natural chemicals into the soil that actually inhibit the growth of surrounding plants, including tomatoes. These chemical compounds, released through the roots and decomposing plant matter, can persist in the soil for months. When you try to plant tomatoes where fennel once grew, you'll notice stunted growth, yellowing, and plants that just never seem to thrive no matter what you do. It's like the soil is actively working against you. Fennel should really be planted in its own isolated area, well away from your vegetable beds. Think of it as the garden loner, beautiful but best appreciated from a distance. Number 4 is the crop you'd least expect: tomatoes themselves. Yes, you heard that right. One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make is planting tomatoes in the exact same spot year after year. It seems logical: if they grew well there once, why not again? But here's what's happening beneath the surface. Each season, tomatoes leave behind a legacy of pathogens in the soil. Fusarium wilt, verticillium wilt, early blight spores, and root knot nematodes all accumulate with each passing year. These microscopic threats lie dormant in the soil, just waiting for another tomato plant to arrive. The first year you might notice a few brown leaves, By year 3, your plants are dying before they even fruit. This is why the 3 to 4 year rotation rule is absolutely critical. Give your soil and your future tomato plants a break. Plant something completely different and your tomatoes will thank you when they return. Coming in at number 3, eggplant. Now we're getting into the nightshade family danger zone. Eggplants are beautiful, productive plants, but they're essentially tomato cousins and they share all the same enemies. Verticillium wilt is the big one here. This soil-borne fungus absolutely loves nightshades and eggplants are notorious for harboring it. Once verticillium gets established in your soil, it can survive for up to 15 years. 15 years. When you plant tomatoes after eggplant, you're rolling the dice on whether those spores are still active. Early symptoms include yellowing leaves on one side of the plant followed by wilting during the heat of the day. By the time you realize what's happening, it's too late. The same goes for spider mites and flea beetles. Both love eggplants and will happily transfer to tomatoes. Keep your nightshades rotating and never follow one nightshade with another. Number 2 on our list, peppers. Whether you're growing sweet bells, spicy jalapenos, or super hot Carolina Reapers, they're all nightshades, and they all spell trouble for next year's tomatoes. Peppers and tomatoes share virtually every disease in the book: early blight, late blight, bacterial spot, and anthracnose. They also attract the same pests: aphids, whiteflies, and hornworms. But here, what makes peppers particularly problematic: they're even more susceptible to certain diseases than tomatoes are, meaning they can amplify pathogen populations in your soil. Think of peppers as disease incubators. A mild blight infection on your peppers this year could become a devastating outbreak on your tomatoes next year. The soil becomes a ticking time bomb. Add to that the fact that peppers are also heavy feeders with similar nutrient requirements, and you've got a recipe for disappointing tomatoes. Always separate your pepper and tomato rotations by at least 3 years. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the number 1 absolute worst crop to plant before tomatoes: potatoes. If eggplants and peppers are dangerous, potatoes are downright catastrophic. They're the ultimate nightmare scenario for tomato growers, and here's why. Potatoes and tomatoes share the most devastating disease of all: late blight. This is the same disease that caused the Irish potato famine, and it can wipe out an entire tomato crop in less than 2 weeks. Late blight spores can overwinter in potato tubers left in the soil, even tiny ones you missed during harvest. Come spring, those spores activate and lie in wait for your tomatoes. But late blight is just the beginning. Potatoes also harbor Colorado potato beetles, wireworms, and nematodes that absolutely love tomato roots. The nutrient depletion is severe too. Potatoes are heavy potassium feeders and so are tomatoes. You're basically planting your tomatoes into nutritionally bankrupt soil. The double whammy of disease risk and nutrient depletion makes this the worst possible combination. If you planted potatoes this year, I repeat, do not plant tomatoes there next year. Wait a minimum of 4 years, or better yet 5. Okay, so now you know what not to plant, but what should you plant to set your tomatoes up for success? I'm so glad you asked. Here are the superstar crops that will actually improve your soil for tomatoes. Number 1, legumes, beans, and peas. These nitrogen-fixing powerhouses actually enrich your soil, leaving behind the exact nutrient tomatoes crave most. Number 2, leafy greens like lettuce, spinach, and kale. They're light feeders with shallow roots so they won't deplete your soil. Number 3, root vegetables like carrots, beets, and radishes. They break up compacted soil and have completely different nutrient needs. And number 4, brassicas like broccoli and cabbage. While they are heavy feeders, they don't share diseases with tomatoes and they'll be long harvested by the time you're planting. Pro tip: plant a cover crop of clover or vetch over winter between your rotation crops for an extra nitrogen boost. Your tomatoes will explode with growth. And there you have it, the 7 crops you absolutely must avoid planting before tomatoes if you want a thriving harvest next year. Let's recap quickly. Number 7, corn, hornworms, and nitrogen depletion. Number 6, cucumbers, bacterial wilt and resource competition. Number 5, fennel, those growth-inhibiting chemicals. Number 4, previous tomatoes disease accumulation. Number 3, eggplant verticillium wilt. Number 2, peppers disease incubators. And the absolute worst, number 1, potatoes late blight, pests, and nutrient drain. Remember, the key to tomato success is smart crop rotation. Give your soil a break, plant those beneficial crops we talked about, and watch your tomatoes thrive. If you found this helpful, smash that like button, it really helps the channel grow. Subscribe to Planifidily for more garden tips, tricks, and secrets that'll transform your harvest. And drop a comment below telling me your crop rotation strategy. Do you follow the 3-year rule? 4 years, have you made any of these mistakes? I read every single comment, and I'd love to hear your experiences. Until next time, happy gardening, and here's to your best tomato season ever.